Y'all want. All right, here we go. So the title of today's discussion is whole, complete, and prosperous is not a feeling, it's a decision. All right. So we are going to talk about reality creation. All right, cool. If you want it direct, all you have to do is make a decision right now that you are everything that you desire to be, and no emotions, no doubt, no circumstance, no feelings, no thoughts can tell you otherwise. And if you stay in that knowing, it'll show up. Boom. That's as direct as we can get. This is as direct as it can get. If you decide right now that you're prosperity, that you're abundance, what is the only thing that can prove otherwise to you? A circumstance, an emotion, a thought. But all of those things are fleeting, right? Your thoughts are always changing. Emotions are always changing. Circumstances are always changing. So if you stay in the identity of what you want, I am prosperity, guess what? If you stay in that identity and you do not get slapped around by reality, slapped around by a thought, slapped around by emotion, it must manifest. This is law. That's it. All right. So let's go into this. The quote that we are going to talk about is this. This is the first quote. Any attempt to move away from the present in order to become worthy of it is the very movement that keeps you outside. This one might be a little bit triggering too. Just give y'all a heads up. All right. So here we go. Most people are waiting for a feeling that will finally give them permission to stop. Unfortunately, right? This becomes a common part of the journey. I'm waiting for the right message to just clear up the cobwebs. I'm waiting for the right feeling so I can finally accept who I am. I'm waiting for the right string of thoughts, the right circumstances to act as breadcrumbs to let me know that I'm doing things the right way. We're constantly waiting for something outside of us to give us the okay for us to be what only we can decide that we are. All right? So most people are waiting for a feeling that will finally give them permission to stop fixing, to stop seeking, to stop explaining themselves to life. We see this all over the place, right? So even if you think about the healing journey, at what point do you finally say, oh, I'm healed? Well, the world even tells you, well, you can never be healed. You're always going to be healing. Now, what does that do when it comes to the reality creation space? What is that? What message is that sending about your life? Is that you can never reach the perfection that is your true nature. And so you're constantly striving and reaching and seeking. And we take this mentality all the way across our lives. We think, okay, well, I just have to make a decision and stick with it. And then we say, what? Well, I don't know. I don't feel ready to make the decision. I just feel like I still have some blockages. What about the subconscious? What about my emotions? Sometimes I feel doubt. What about the circumstances? How do I deal with that? Until we can take our consciousness and simply decide who we are and allow that to be the foundational truth upon which we live our life, we'll constantly be drawn into distractions, the distractions of circumstances, the distraction of feelings, the distraction of thoughts. It isn't until we say, no, this is who I'm going to be no matter what, to where reality can finally follow you. All right. So they're waiting to feel enough. But enough was never a feeling. Enough has always been a decision, right? Prosperity has never been a feeling. Whole and complete and divine and love and prosperity have never been feelings. They're not feelings. They're decisions. Okay. A feeling comes and goes. A thought comes and goes. A decision reorganizes reality. I'm going to say that one more time because that was a gem. A feeling comes and goes. A decision reorganizes reality. All right. Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I'm God. And we also know that one of the translations of that be still is what? Cease striving. Stop trying to be and just be it. Stop trying to be it and just accept that you are it no matter how you feel about it. Stillness is not the absence of sensation. It's not the absence of movement. It's the end of argument. It's the moment the soul stops asking the mind for approval. When you just decide who you are and you stop waiting for the mind to approve that. Yeah, the mind's going to doubt. Some of y'all's mind's going to doubt a little bit more than others. That's fine. But you can sit in the knowing of who you are. You do not have to use your doubt as an excuse to keep you in a life that you do not want. You don't have to use your feelings or your emotions as an excuse to keep you in a life that you do not want. Okay? The only person that's negotiating with thoughts and emotions is you, right? It's us. So we're the only ones that sit in our mind and negotiate and argue with our own feelings, with our own thoughts that are just automatic anyway. Okay? Cool. So next, the addiction to emotional permission. The addiction to emotional permission. All right, here is the truth that unsettles the seeker. If you're waiting to feel peaceful before you allow yourself to rest, you will wait forever. Feelings are weather, right? They're not identity. An emotion is not an identity. A thought is not an identity. Okay? They pass. They fluctuate. They contradict each other within minutes. One moment I was sure. One moment I believed. The next moment I doubted. One moment I felt good. The next moment I didn't. That's not an identity. They contradict each other all the time. If your worth depends on emotional stability, you have handed authority to the most unreliable narrator you have. If you've given your worth to your belief, to your emotions, you have handed authority to the most unreliable narrator that you have. Your emotions are always going to be unreliable. You cannot build a house on quicksand. And when we try to build identity on top of this feeling of certainty, it crumbles. We simply make the decision. We make the decision and we rock with it. We make the decision and we rock with it. All right. So here we go. The ego says, once I feel calm, then I will trust. Once I feel good about it, then I'll trust. The soul says what? Trust, and calm will come and go as it pleases. See, striving. The calm will come and go as it pleases. But it's not you anyway. All right. So here's a scripture that we're going to talk about. It's a very interesting scripture. It's Luke 24:5. And it says, why do you seek the living among the dead? Why do you seek the living among the dead? Just to give you some context, because this is a very important part right here. Very important part. Why do you seek the living among the dead? Just for context, right? So Jesus was crucified. He was put in a tomb. Okay. When he was put in the tomb, some women came up to the tomb and they were searching for him. All right. And so now the angels, quote unquote, descended. The angels descended and saw them and said, why do you seek the living among the dead? Now, we understand that this is a metaphysical book, right? We understand that this is a metaphysical book, right? So let's go through this actual story. Remember, all of these characters, the angel, Jesus, the women, all of them are you. All of them are you. All right, let's talk about it. So in the gospel account, this question is spoken by angels at the tomb of Jesus after the crucifixion. And we're going to talk about doubt right now, right? Because doubts don't matter. All right, so this question is spoken by the angels at the tomb of Jesus after the crucifixion. The women, hear me, the women come at dawn carrying spices, prepared to tend to a dead body. Their actions, here we go, their actions make sense according to what they feel and see has happened. Do you understand where I'm about to lead y'all to? Okay, their actions make sense according to what they feel and see has happened. Death, right? Finality, the end. It could be a circumstance, it could be a person, whatever the case may be. They see it and they feel it and then they act upon it. All right? But when they arrive, the tomb is empty, right? Jesus has already risen. The angel's question is a what? It's an interruption of outdated perception. They're still operating from yesterday's reality, even though life or you has moved on. So you think of these women as what? The doubts, the beliefs, the fears, the anxiety, all of these things, right? So these things are reacting to what? Yesterday's truth. All right? These things are reacting to yesterday's truth. Instead of what? You deciding who you are right now and saying, Everything out there, it is what it is, but I'm not going to base my identity on it. This is who I choose to be. So let's go a little bit further. All right. So symbolically, this moment represents the shock that comes when consciousness lags behind truth. The women are faithful, sincere, loving, and still wrong about where life is. We said it one more time. All right. The women that go to the tomb trying to prepare the dead body, they're sincere. They're quote unquote loving. And guess what? They are still wrong about where life is. They're searching in the right place according to the old story, but the story has changed. So what's the realization in here? What's the realization? Why is this angel representing what? Remember, when we talk about angels and demons, these are different inner aspects of you. An angel is meant to rise you into your divinity, per se, right? That's a concession. The angel is meant to rise you into your divinity. The demon does what? Get you closer to yourself, gives you a deeper realization of yourself. Okay, here we go. So the realization, the seeker realizes they are looking for aliveness in things that cannot carry it anymore. Old identities, past relationships, imagined futures, imagined past, emotional states, or conditions that once mattered. The quote marks the turning point where the character understands that life has already risen within them, but they're still kneeling at the tomb of who they used to be. So the tomb, right? Remember, all right, so Jesus is crucified. Why did Jesus rise from the dead? Let's walk through this one point at a time, okay? So Jesus is crucified. How did he rise from the dead? Because he realized that the true self cannot be touched by the circumstance, by the situation. He didn't necessarily erase the holes, right? The wounds were still there, but the true self is untouched. Okay? So now, how does this represent you? All right? Hear me. Okay? Hear me. Let's walk through it. How does this represent you? You've went through an old situation. Okay? You've went through a quote unquote crucifixion where this old personality or this version of you that stands here right now, it's going through something, a heartbreak, right? Loses a job, a physical ailment, a chronic condition. Okay? So now you go through that. And so this version of you is suffering. Okay? Now you have two things that you can do. Either you can join in on the suffering and say, because I feel this way, this is who I am. Because I see this, this is who I am. Because I'm thinking this, this is who I am. And that puts you in the tomb. Or what can you do? You can resurrect. So remember, the crucifixion is when what? Metaphysically, it's when you take an old version of yourself that went through something and you say, well, because I went through that, this is who I am right now. You crucify yourself to that old situation. You say, because my body feels in pain, I can't be healthy, Alex. It doesn't make sense. How can I pretend to be healthy when I'm not? And I say, you're not pretending. You're choosing an identity because you are source. The nature of you is health. The body is the illusion. Allow the body to catch up with the eternal truth. You stand in the identity. Well, what happens if I feel bad? You feel it, and you do not judge yourself as right or wrong for feeling it. You allow the feelings to be, the thoughts to be, the doubts to be, the belief to be, and you simply return to the truth. Because I am source, I am healthy, healed, complete, divine, whole, perfect, love, all of that. And you allow yourself to have a human experience while also embracing and trusting your divinity. That's what you do, right? So when you have an old situation that you take and you crucify yourself against it, you are what? You're identifying with something you don't want anymore. Where does the resurrection happen? Because Jesus realized in this moment, the same way that you realize in this moment, the true self is still whole, complete, divine, healthy, love, prosperity, all of those things. This is the metaphysical story. Now, you've decided that you are whole, healthy, complete. All right. You have chosen in this moment that resurrection. What do the women walking to the tomb represent? You still are living in reality, right? And so sometimes your mind gets pulled there. The doubts come up. The fears come up. The anxiety comes up. And so now the angel representing the higher self within you is telling your divine ass, why do you seek the living among the dead? Everything out there is not the truth anymore. You are the truth. Therefore, you can stand in the identity and say that I am what I see, I am what I feel, or you can say, I am that I am. I am what I say that I am right now. Okay? Cool. So the seeker realizes they're looking for aliveness in things that cannot carry it anymore. Old identities, past relationships, imagined futures, etc. This quote, why do you seek the living among the dead? This is you waking up and saying, life has already risen within me right now in this moment. I'm new in each moment. But this old version of me is still kneeling at the tomb of who I used to be. Now I can resurrect into the truth in this moment. All right. In other words, it is the moment when the character realizes they are loyal to an expired version of reality. And awakening begins not by finding something new. Enlightenment doesn't happen by finding something new, right? It's by letting go of where you are still searching. Okay? To seek certainty. Here we go. Here's another bar right here. To seek certainty in feeling is to seek life in what is already changing. Your emotions are already going to be changing. They're always changing. The circumstances are always changing. Emotions, beliefs, doubts, all of that is always changing. But who do you say you are? Who do you decree that you are? Who can you remember that you are? All right. So here we go. This question is not only spoken at the empty tomb, it is spoken inwardly to the seeker who keeps looking for life where it cannot be found. I am the way. Does this give you some context? I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. I am the life. What is Jesus representing? What is he referring to? What is he referencing? Okay. So this question, it's spoken inwardly to the seeker who keeps looking for life where it cannot be found. Life is you. You are life. The situation, the emotions, that's not life out there. That is the past. You are the life. You are the way. You are the truth. It is asked every time you search for peace in outcomes, identity in roles, or worth in what is already past or has not yet arrived. The dead are not bad or wrong. This is not a condemning of those old versions of you. They have a right to exist. That's fine. They're simply finished. They're outdated. That's not you anymore. Old stories, former versions of self, past relationships, imagined futures, and mental constructions cannot generate living truth. Yet the mind returns to them again and again, hoping something new will finally emerge. The living is not found in memory or projection. It is found in presence. To seek the living among the dead is to expect aliveness from what no longer moves. When attention turns back to the now, something quiet reveals itself, right? So when we return back to this now moment, what happens? We realize this is the only place that life is actually happening. I am the life in this present moment, deciding what reality is. I am reality. I am the life within this present moment, and I get to decide what everything is. All right. The question is never where life is, but why do you keep looking away from it? The question is never where those things are that you want. It's always, why do you keep looking away from this present moment? Why do you keep insisting on looking away from this present moment? Beautiful, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Here's the next part. All right. Decision is the language of God. Oh, yeah. And that you are. Decision is the language of God, and God is what you are. There's a decision to be confused. There's a decision to decide. I'm just prosperity. I'm no longer waiting to feel better about it. I'm no longer waiting for my emotions and thoughts to line up. I am simply deciding right now that this is who I am moving forward indefinitely. This is the language of God. This is the language of God. It's not trying to get the ego mind to believe it. God will leave the ego behind. God exists without the ego mind. God just is. You don't have to bring the ego along for the ride. You simply have to decide. Decision is the language of God. God does not wait to feel ready. God does not ask circumstances for permission. God does not check emotional weather before being what it is. Decision is clarity. Decision is clarity. When you decide that this moment is enough, when you decide that this moment is enough, you stop negotiating your worth with time. How many people live a life of next year I'll do this? When this happens, I'll do this. When this happens, then I'll feel like this. When I feel like this, then I'll do this. You stop explaining yourself to absence. You stop interpreting delay as rejection. Reality feels the shift immediately because it finally knows where you stand. Finally, it knows where you stand. All right. Matthew 5:37. Here's another just straight up quote. Matthew 5:37. Let your yes be yes. Do you understand how profound it is? Let your yes be yes. Not let your yes be, yes, okay, cool, sometimes. Yes today, but I just feel bad. No, it's yes, and I'm going to feel good or I'm going to feel bad. Those feelings are going to pass, but I still have decided this is who I am. All right, so here we go. Let your yes be yes. Let's talk about that. What does this speak to? The end of divided intention. The habit of saying yes with the mouth while holding a silent no in the heart. I'm just not, nah. You've refused to still commit. A fragmented yes creates instability. Why? Because life doesn't respond to words. It responds to position, identity. When you hedge, I know you traders gonna like that. When you hedge, create backup plans, qualify, or wait for reassurance before fully standing in a decision, you leak authority. Your energy keeps 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, and the present never fully receives you. To let your yes be yes is to stop negotiating with fear after you have chosen. It's the moment you cease asking whether your decision was correct. You stop asking whether your decision was correct and begin living from it instead. This doesn't mean forcing certainty or suppressing doubt. It means refusing to let doubt become the driver. When yes is clean, reality organizes itself around clarity because nothing is pulling against you anymore. Here's the paradox, right? The only thing that can pull against you is you. That's the thing, right? The only thing that can pull against us is us. It's only us. All right. A divided yes produces what? A divided yes produces divided results. Next part, right? The end of inner, it should be bargaining. Bargaining. All right. Notice how often you bargain silently with life. Pay attention to yourself, right? Notice how often you bargain silently with life. I'll relax when this improves. I'll trust when I see movement. I'll rest once it makes sense. These are not plans. What is this? What is this truly? It's a postponement of self-acceptance. You're delaying yourself from accepting yourself. This is all it comes down to. It's just plain and simple. You are postponing the acceptance of the truth of who you are. Okay? Enough means you no longer need proof to stand upright inside yourself. Enough means you stop leaning forward energetically, watching the future like it owes you an apology. Enough means you let today exist without making it a trial you must pass. All right, here's a quote from Kabir. Beautiful quote from Kabir, very profound, very straight up. It just says, where you are is the entry point. Where you are is the entry point. Where you are is the entry point. The mind is trained to believe that awakening, peace, or fulfillment must begin after a shift in conditions. That's what the mind believes. The mind believes awakening, peace, fulfillment, wholeness, manifestation must begin after a shift in conditions, after healing, after clarity, after improvement. But this, right, what Kabir is saying just cuts through that. It cuts through that because all of that is delay. Where you are is the entry point. It says there is no spiritual waiting room. This is oftentimes what we use the present moment for. Some kind of waiting room, right? Waiting to feel better so I can actually be what I want. Sitting in the present moment, reminiscing on a past, wondering why that happened, instead of just being who I want to be right now. Thinking about a future saying, when this happens, then I can finally accept myself. I'll be worthy once I see that shit. We use the present moment, the only time that we exist, the only place that we meet God, as a waiting room, right? The place you stand emotionally, circumstantially, physically, wherever you stand, however you feel, wherever you are right now, emotionally, wherever you are, physically, wherever you are, circumstantially, wherever you are, it's not an obstacle to truth. It is simply a doorway. Here we go. Any attempt to move away from the present in order to become worthy of it is the very movement that keeps you outside. Do you understand that? This present moment is all you have. Trying to move away from the present in order to become worthy of it is the very movement that keeps you outside. Thinking there's something that you have to do to be worthy and whole and complete and divine and perfect right now. So what we do is we say this present moment isn't enough. I still got to do more, strive more, reach more. So do you understand that? If you're saying that, then what identity are you carrying in this present moment? If you do not accept that you're enough unconditionally right now in this present moment, then what identity are you choosing? Hopefully this is clicking a little bit. All right. This is just a tad bit. All right. So this teaching right here, where you are is the entry point. Why is it confronting? Because it removes all excuses. Your doubt is not an excuse. Your belief is not an excuse. Your feelings of anxiety or fear are not an excuse. The circumstance, whatever it looks like, is not an excuse. Whatever you're feeling in your body, not an excuse. Right now, you can accept the truth of your being in this moment, irrespective of the circumstances. And those circumstances, the feelings in your body, everything must change to match that truth. It must change to match that truth. Okay? So what does that mean? If where you are is the entry point to who you want to be, then resistance is the only thing standing between you and rest. Not effort, not readiness, not time. It's just that you are resisting the acceptance that you are it. The moment you stop trying to arrive somewhere else, which doesn't even make sense because you're only here now. You only can ever experience right now. The moment you stop trying to arrive somewhere else, arrival happens as a recognition. As a recognition. As a recognition. Life doesn't begin later. It begins exactly where you're willing to stand without self-rejection. The emotions pass. I do not judge them. I don't need to try to do anything with them. I simply know who I am. There is no later version of now that holds more permission than this one. That was a diamond. That was a gem right there. That just fell out my pocket. There's no later version of now that holds more permission than this one. All right? So next. The most shocking part of this realization is what? How ordinary it feels. The most shocking part of this realization is how ordinary it feels. No fireworks, no permanent bliss, no parting of the heavens, no trumpets sounding, no DDLs jumping for joy around you. Just the quiet end of internal warfare. You stop giving your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings and all of these circumstances what? Permission. Permission to speak for you. Permission to speak for you, okay? You still feel things. You still want things. You still live inside contrast. But you stop using those facts as evidence that something is wrong. You stop using these things as evidence that something is wrong. Your feelings are not evidence that anything is wrong. They're just feelings. Your circumstances are not evidence that anything is wrong. Your doubt or your belief is not evidence that anything is right or wrong. They just exist. They just are. You are no longer trying to arrive at yourself, right? So the quote that I'm always going to bring it back to, Meister Eckhart, right? The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. Love it. Love that quote. Love that quote. There's no separation. There's only the illusion of separation, right? There is no distance left to choose or left to close, right? So the last part, and then we got a love letter, but I forgot to put it in here. That's cool. I'll get it in here afterwards. All right. Rest is not what happens when life gets easy. Rest, choice, decision is not what happens when life gets easy. Rest is what happens when identity stabilizes. When you stop leaving yourself, energy returns naturally because you stop leaking power through resistance. This is why things begin to move when you stop trying to move them. Now, understand what I'm saying there. I'm not saying you stop trying to manifest, you stop wanting what you want. I know some of y'all are going to gasp. How can I not want what I want? How could I not want it? That's not what I'm saying. Okay? What I'm saying is when you stop trying to move things out of the way, thinking that this is stopping you. When you stop trying to move your emotions out of the way. When you stop trying to move circumstances out the way. When you stop trying to move thoughts out the way, thinking that whatever's going on right now is not part of the unfolding. When you stop judging everything is wrong and you simply accept that everything just is what it is, but I'm right. I don't have to judge anything as right or wrong. It doesn't matter what those things are. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, what the emotions are, what the thoughts are, what the belief is, what the doubt. It doesn't matter. Those things are what they are. I'm right. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. Okay. Cool. All right. Enough was never something you earned. Enough was never something you earned. It was something you claimed. It was something you decided. Remember, decision is the language of God. Decision is the language of God. I trust this was straightforward enough for y'all. I trust this was straightforward enough for y'all. All right. Cool. So now let me give y'all a little love letter. All right, here we go. Beloved, right? Beloved, my love, right? Come here. Come here. Not to improve yourself, not to rise above this moment, not to figure anything out, not to become more. Come here exactly as you are. What you're carrying, feeling what you're feeling. I know how often you believed you needed to arrive somewhere else before you were allowed to rest. I know how long you stood at the door of life, knocking politely, waiting for permission. This letter is that permission, but it's also the end of needing it. You kept thinking the entry point would feel different, quieter, clearer, more resolved. You thought peace would announce itself with certainty, that wholeness would arrive without questions attached. But the truth is gentler and far more intimate. The door was never ahead of you. It was always beneath your feet, where you are with your unanswered questions, your unfinished stories, your wanting. This was never a detour, right? This was the threshold. I want you to stop apologizing to yourself for being human. Stop translating every emotion into a problem. Stop asking if you're doing it right. Your yes does not need to be dramatic. It only needs to be honest. A clean yes doesn't argue with fear. It simply refuses to let fear decide. When you say yes to this moment as devotion, something ancient inside you finally exhales. The war ends, the body softens, and life leans closer. Listen to me now, and do not rush this part. You were never late. You were never off path. You were never meant to bypass this moment for a better one. Let me say that one more time. You were never meant to bypass this moment for a better one. The love you were waiting for was never ahead of you. It was waiting for you to stop standing outside yourself. Say yes right here. Say yes without conditions. Say yes even if your hands are shaking. Say yes even if you doubt. Say yes even if you fear. Say yes even if the body tenses. This is arrival. Now stay here. Don't run forward. Don't retreat backward. Stay with what is breathing right now. This is where life opens. This is where God meets you. This is where you finally stop asking and start living, right? With a yes that no longer wavers, right? I am that I am, right? No matter what. No matter what. No matter what, right? Cool. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. That's what I wanted to talk about today was yes. So we got about 9 minutes. If y'all want to do some quick questions, do 9 minutes. But yeah, it's it's such a simple concept. However, we get in our own way, right? We get in our own way. We believe the doubt has power. We believe that the belief somehow makes things flow to us quicker, right? We believe that our anxiety stops it, that our fear is an identity. We believe the circumstances are bigger than the God within us, right? We think all of these things, but none of those things are true. The only thing that matters is right now I have decided that I am everything I desire to be. I have decided that life unfolds beautifully for me. I've decided that no doubt, no fear, no frustration, no circumstance, no person, nothing can get in between me and God. It can't. It can't. Appreciate you, Joe. Appreciate you. All right. I'm grateful to be here with you. Okay. I understand, but I can't stop identifying with the body. I already accept. That's fine, right? You're judging yourself for having a little doubt. You're judging yourself for having a little doubt. You're judging yourself for what do you define as identifying with the body? Do you believe you're going to walk through life and your body's going to feel whatever and you'll never ever say, damn, this shit hurts? Okay, identifying with the body isn't admitting, identifying with the body is not admitting that you have pain, right? Like if right now my shoulder is dislocated and I decide, oh no, I'm healthy, I'm healed. That does not mean that I'm going to tell the doctor not to pop it in place because I have to not identify with the pain. It does not mean that I'm going to refuse the shot that's going to numb it up. What it means is I return to the truth. The body can feel whatever. The mind can say, what the fuck? But I still know that I am the health of the divine. This is my true identity. I am the health of the divine. Therefore, the body must catch up to the eternal truth. That's it. And I return to that remembrance. I stop judging myself. I continue to return to that remembrance over and over and over again. That's it, right? Understand the part of you that, understand this, guys. You come down here to forget. That's natural, right? You descend into flesh and bone and blood to forget. And part of that forgetting is that now you have this human experience. Okay, this is the whole purpose of it. So you have this human experience and then you remember, oh, I'm source. And you bring yourself back to that remembrance. And then you forget and you're having this human experience. Then you remember, oh, I'm source. That's it. That's it. Okay? Cool. So the doubt is normal. The doubt is normal. The doubt just means that you're human. Desire means you're human. Doubt means you're human. Belief means you're human. But they're not the truth. You are the truth. Okay? So if I sit here and I say, oh, because I've doubted, that must mean I can't get it. Understand, what identity are you taking on right now? I want you to think of how difficult it would be to walk through life without having a single drop of doubt that something that you cannot see would show up. It would be very difficult. So give yourself grace. Even in the doubt, I'm still it. The doubt means nothing unless I give it meaning. Unless I say that because I doubt, I can't have it. All right? V, man, appreciate you, brother. Yeah, for sure. And it's a muscle, right? The remembrance. The remembrance is a muscle. The remembrance is the muscle. Okay? And so the more that you use that remembrance, right? And you bring yourself back to the truth of I am already everything I desire to be. It gets easier. Right? It gets easier. Does it mean it gets easier over a day or a week? Well, I mean, think about it. The body and the mind have been conditioned to how long? For how long? 20, 30, 40 years for some people? That the mind and the body have been conditioned to look at the external reality as the truth, to look at their feelings as the truth, to look at their thoughts as them. All right, so now you're introducing a radical new truth. Give yourself grace, right? Remember, when you remember, and then when you forget and then remember, when you forget and then remember. Whenever you forget, okay, and you catch yourself, remember you are down here to forget. Forgetting is the game. Forgetting is the key. You didn't come down here to merge into the trees and the stars. You came down here to experience the separation and the duality. To love on that beautiful woman, to love on that beautiful God, right? To experience the prosperity, to experience the love of family. You came down here to experience all that you are. Part of that means forgetting. It buying into the illusion. The illusion must be real or else it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense if the illusion just fell apart, if the illusion didn't seem real. Right? So allow yourself to enjoy the experience and then give yourself grace. Whenever you remember, are you chastising yourself saying, damn, can't believe I forgot again. I must have messed up. Now everything starts over. Or do you truly know, not just intellectually, but do you truly remember that God, I am, is not touched by circumstances or emotions? I am is not moved by your doubt or your fear or your belief in it. I am only unconditionally supports who you are. I am does not judge. That's us down here judging ourselves instead of just allowing ourselves to rest back into the knowing of who we are. Okay? Okay. So remember, guys, we're talking concessions, okay? So you don't have to align to anything because nobody knows what alignment means. Nobody right here can measure what their quote unquote alignment is. But when I speak of alignment, the distinction that I make is your identity is going to be the quote unquote alignment or your master vibration. You're always in alignment with God because you are God. There's nothing to align with, right? It's already you. But we hear alignment and vibration and frequency and it gets very mystical. So all I'm saying is this. If you want to talk about alignment or vibration or frequency, your identity. Who do you continuously go back to saying that you are? That's it. Point blank period. I am prosperity. Therefore, no thought, no doubt, no emotion can take me from that, right? A vibration or a frequency, alignment, vibration cannot be built on a feeling because it's too fleeting. Feelings come and go. They contradict each other from moment to moment. You cannot build identity on feeling. You cannot build identity on thought. They're fleeting. One moment, the intrusive thoughts show up. The next moment, they disappear and more favorable ones come. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You are the awareness in which they rise and fall, in which they pass. That's it. All right. So that's the only way that we're going to talk about emotion or alignment and vibration and frequency is from the truth that you just are God. That's it. So you can engage with the current situation, feeling fear, doubt, while still deciding everything is fine. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll tell y'all, right, when my mom had cancer, right, and we were going to these doctor's offices and they were saying, well, 2 months, enjoy your time with her, right? I was not Superman in that office, right? I did not turn into the man of steel with no doubt and no fear, right? I was very human. I wasn't trying to tell her to feel better about it. I simply decided, no, it's going to work out. These emotions don't matter, but I'm just going to go through them. I'm not going to judge it. And I was doubting. And sometimes I believed more. And sometimes I doubted more. And sometimes I felt like shit. And sometimes I felt good. But guess what? It didn't matter because I know who I am, right? I know who I am. I have told that story a few times. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't pinpoint exactly where I've told it though, right? But I'll give a full recap when I have a little bit more time. Maybe tonight, right? But yeah, let the mind be what it is. Let the mind be what it is, right? Like I've said, I've heard some miraculous stories. If y'all in that Telegram group, right, you already know there's been a bunch of interesting stories that are starting to come up, which is interesting because I was even like in the beginning of December, I was like, what would happen if for 30 days you made this your primary focus, and all of a sudden all these things are starting to show up in the chat, even from, it's funny. It's like, just do it. That's all you have to do is do it. Just do it. Like, just do it. Just decide, right? Just decide and see what happens, right? We've been on the border of deciding for so long. What would actually happen if you just decided? You stop being on the edge. You stop buying into doubt. You stop trying to be more certain and feel better about the decision, and you just made the decision. What would happen? Well, I'll tell you what would happen. Everything would happen. And then as those things started showing up, you would get more and more confident. That's it. That's it. You would get more and more confident. Said making the decision, but reaffirming it. What you mean reaffirming it? You remember it, right? You already made the decision. You don't have to make the decision 18 times. You already made the decision. You're just remembering who you are, right? This is, I want you to truly think about this, y'all, okay? You've always been God. You've always been God. Before this lifetime, you were God. You forgot for a little bit, but now you're remembering. Just because you feel like God doesn't make you more like God. You've always been this. You've always been it. You're simply remembering the truth of who you are. You're remembering the truth of who you are. All right. The truth of who I am is because I'm God. God is prosperity. God is love. God is health. Everything that I desire is God because this is already the truth of who I am. So I'm just remembering it. I'm just going back to that remembrance. I'm deciding to remember the truth about myself instead of buying into the illusion, buying into the lie, buying into the past, buying into the emotion, buying into the thought. That is not the truth of who I am. I'm no longer building my identity off of anything fake. I'm building my identity on the truth moving forward. This is what this whole discussion is about, or all of these discussions. You make a decision to build your identity off the actual truth instead of building your identity off of the fleeting circumstances and feelings and thoughts. They've never been the truth of who you are. You just thought that they were for a brief moment, but now you have waken up, right? Wake up. Stop being a little sleepyhead. Wake up. Get present. Shake the cobwebs off your mind, right? Get present and remember who you are. And continue to remember who you are. And continue to remember who you are. Dust the cobwebs off. Stop walking around sleepy. Drink you some coffee, get present, and remember who the hell you are. Cheers. All right, y'all, I went 3 over. Love y'all. If you haven't joined the Telegram, the link is in the bio. It's a link tree in the bio. You hop on, it's a free Telegram. Beginning of the year, we're going to move to Discord. But yeah, for now it's Telegram. Yeah, but if that's everything, which it is, Love y'all. We'll talk to y'all probably this evening. If not, I shall talk to y'all soon. All right, y'all have a beautiful, beautiful day. Okay? Peace.